Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something quite different. We're opening up some sources that approach self-love from a really raw, personal place.
That's right. Usually you hear self-love and you think, I don't know, affirmations, spa days, maybe a hashtag.
Exactly. It gets packaged, doesn't it? Like it's this shiny goal you achieve, maybe with a checklist or something.
But these sources, they just cut through all that. They reject that easy, almost commercialized view. This isn't about quick self-help tips.
No, definitely not. This is described as an account written with a trembling voice, yet one that is true. So our mission today is to really unpack this view of self-love as a struggle, a necessary survival.
It's about the heavy emotional toll of changing yourself, unlearning really deep patterns of self-criticism, and maybe finding a quiet kind of victory in just not giving up.
It feels important because, let's be honest, for a lot of people, getting to a place of self-kindness isn't some bright, easy path.
Not at all. It's more like feeling your way through a fog, carrying this weight of old hurts, old messages, things that maybe weren't even yours to begin with.
Right, this idea of inherited burdens. So we need to approach this with real sensitivity. It's about wounds, not wellness trends.
Precisely. Okay, where should we start?
Let's jump right into the core idea because it really challenges everything we think we know about self-love from, say, pop psychology.
Yeah.
Okay, the author gives us this definition almost straight away, and it's really visceral. They write, self-love is one of those tender aches, the sort that hurts beautifully.
That phrase, tender ache, it hits hard, doesn't it?
It does. What does that combination tell you? Pain and beauty, tenderness and aching.
Well, ache suggests something persistent, right? Something deep, maybe chronic. It's not a sharp, sudden pain, but a lingering one. It's definitely not instant relief.
Yeah.
But adding tender, that implies care. It suggests the pain is maybe being looked after now gently, like a wound that's finally healing. But the healing process itself hurts. It's restorative pain, if that makes sense.
Because you're finally addressing the source instead of ignoring it.
Exactly, you're tending to it.
Yeah.
And that tending, that process, has its own kind of difficult beauty.
It really captures that growth often involves discomfort, maybe even tearing things down to rebuild. And the sources are so clear, this isn't the easy version. They say it's not an emotional spa, nor a hashtag, nor the stuff of cheap self-help.
Yeah, and that's such a vital point. It's pushing back against how healing gets, well, commodified, turned into a product that promises quick fixes.
Right, like a face cream for your soul.
Sort of, yeah. But if you're dealing with deep stuff, trauma, years of negative self-talk, a bubble bath isn't going to cut it. The real work, that tender ache, is the messy, hard psychological rewiring.
And the author doesn't try to pretty it up.
No, they refuse to sanitize it. And this difficulty, this struggle, it even shows up in how they talk about communication with themselves.
Ah, the language analogy. That was really striking, calling it like learning a new language after years of being mute to myself.
Mute to myself.
Yeah.
Think about what that implies.
That the real inner voice, the part that needs kindness, was just silenced for years.
Completely silenced. Or maybe the only language spoken internally was blame, criticism, making oneself small. So when you try to speak this new language, self-compassion, self-advocacy, you literally don't have the words or the muscle memory.
It sounds terrifying, actually, like being asked to speak in front of everyone when you don't know the language.
It is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's why the next part is so important. The source acknowledges it's not going to be perfect. Sometimes it sounds clumsy, sometimes it falters, yet still, I try.
The acceptance of the clumsiness, that feels key.
It absolutely is. It takes the pressure off needing to be perfect at it immediately. You will stumble. You might say the wrong thing to yourself. You might slip back into the old harsh inner voice.
But the success isn't fluency.
No. The success is the trying, the persistence, choosing, maybe just for this hour, to try the kinder language, even if the old one feels more natural.
So it's this constant rebuilding. It scraps the whole idea that self-love is a destination you arrive at.
Exactly. The author says it's built anew constantly. It's no destination, just an attempt, a steady striving not to be so cruel with myself.
Wow. Not to be so cruel. That really reframes the goal, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
It's not about chasing bliss. It's about reducing harm, internal harm. If you manage to just lessen the self-attack for a bit, that's the win for the day. It's incredibly humble, but also incredibly real.
It's moving away from self-cruelty as the baseline.
Yes. And you can't really grasp how huge that shift is without understanding the weight that was being carried before. The history behind the cruelty.
Right. Let's talk about that weight. The sources dive deep into this heavy inheritance.
They do. And it's crucial for understanding why learning to speak kindly to oneself is so hard. The text mentions trying not to echo, in my own mind, the very words others once flung at me.
Flung! Such a violent word.
It is, and crucially, words that wounded deepest because they came from those who claimed to love me.
Oof. That's the devastating part, isn't it? When the source of the wound is supposed to be your source of safety.
It twists everything. If the people building your emotional foundation are the ones giving you the most toxic criticism, how do you even learn what a kind voice sounds like? It gets baked in.
So unlearning it isn't just breaking a bad habit, it's like trying to rewire your whole operating system.
It's a massive undertaking, like trying to exercise those internalized voices. And even when you're trying, the weight is still there. The author says, guilt and shame still visit me, bending the back beneath the weight of burdens that were never mine.
Still visit me, like unwanted guests who just won't leave, and they're heavy enough to physically affect posture.
The physicality of it is striking.
Yeah.
And this constant weight finds expression in a specific learned behavior, becoming fluent in apology.
Fluent, that word again, meaning it's the default mode, automatic.
Yes. Think about what that means day to day. Apologizing constantly, not just for mistakes, but for existing.
The text lists things like apologizing for feelings, for tears, for needing things, even for breathing too loudly.
Can you imagine? It's this profound self-minimization. Believing your presence is inherently disruptive.
That taking up space were a sin, or that having emotions makes you a nuisance, or even saying I'm heard feels like a betrayal.
It's the ultimate people-pleasing taken to a really traumatic level. The core belief becomes, my job is to cause minimal trouble for others, even at my own expense.
And it connects directly back to that inherited guilt.
Absolutely. The guilt wasn't earned, it was given, transferred. The text says it was the guilt of others, their issues, their choices, even their violences.
How is it transferred?
Often subtly, wrapped in sweet phrases, the text says, or through silence. Silences that thundered louder than any slammed door.
That passive aggression, or just the weight of unexpressed anger, it forces the other person to fill the gap, often by taking the blame.
Precisely. It's a form of manipulation, where the person causing harm projects it onto the victim, making them carry the emotional load.
So the breakthrough, the start of walking lighter, is realizing that guilt was never mine. It never belonged to me.
That's the crucial moment of clarity, seeing the dynamic for what it was, separating others' actions from your own self-worth.
How does that realization turn into action, though?
Through refusal. The text talks about returning guilt to where it belongs, not by confronting anyone necessarily, but just by breaking the pattern, by unlearning the mandate to always take the blame.
By refusing to keep flogging yourself for not meeting impossible expectations.
Yes, and that leads to this powerful declaration, I was born to live my life, and that is no crime.
Just stating that, it feels revolutionary in this context.
It is. It reclaims your fundamental right to exist for yourself, not just for others. And the result? I begin to walk lighter. And that, too, is self-love. The internal shift has an immediate physical feeling, less burden.
Okay, so the guilt is recognized, maybe even refused, but the struggle isn't over. The sources are really honest about that.
Painfully honest. That old voice doesn't just disappear. The old punishing voice slips through, whispering that I am unworthy, insufficient, not enough.
It's like a default track playing in the background.
Exactly. It's habituated. It's the first voice that pipes up when things get tough. So fighting back takes constant conscious effort.
It's described as being fought with claws, with new words, with small acts. That sounds like a real battle.
It is. It's an internal war. Not gentle acceptance, but active resistance, day by day.
And the weapons in this war, they aren't grand gestures, are they? They're small, almost mundane things.
That's what makes it so relatable and powerful. The small acts are things like nourishing the self because I deserve to.
Just the act of eating properly becomes resistance.
Yes. Or saying no without feeling the need for a 5-minute apology.
Ooh, that's a big one for many people.
Huge. Or choosing rest without feeling guilty or lazy.
If you were taught your needs are secondary, just allowing yourself rest is rebellion.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And the author sums it up. Caring for myself is not selfishness. It is survival. It is resistance. It is, at its core, an act of revolutionary love.
Redefining self-care not as indulgence, but as a political act of survival.
Exactly. And a big part of this survival involves dealing with shame. Not just guilt, but deep shame.
Right. The text talks about shame felt for my story. for my body, for my choices, for my scars, shame about basically everything.
And it stems from that twisted logic. As though what had been done to me spoke ill of me, as though others' wrongs were my fault.
That's the core of toxic shame, isn't it? Believing you're somehow flawed if bad things happen to you, that you attracted it or deserved it.
It's insidious. It makes you complicit in your own suffering.
And the result, hiding, becoming incredibly high-functioning to cover it up.
Yes, hiding. Behind smiles, behind makeup, behind efficiency. Becoming the person who can do it all, who never shows cracks.
The competent, capable mask.
It's exhausting to maintain that. Because underneath, the fear is that if people see the real story, the vulnerability, they'll judge or leave. The inner voice keeps warning, don't cry. They will say you exaggerate.
So you keep the mask firmly in place. The text uses another really vivid image for where the shame came from.
A rotten seed.
Yeah, shame was planted like a rotten seed by those who never owned their harm.
The source of the poison was external. The harm doers planted it.
But then, unknowingly, the author says, I watered it.
Through years of self-blame, internalizing the criticism, kept it alive.
So the action now is, what? Uprooting it.
More like letting it die from lack of attention. Today, I let it wither. Stop feeding it the water of self-blame. Today, I uncover. Today, I name myself.
Naming yourself, owning the whole story, broken and complete, stepping out without asking permission.
The relief in that must be immense, finally taking off the armor.
Which brings us back to that very realistic measure of success. The author says, I do not yet love myself fully. Not yet.
That honesty is brutal, but so important.
But I no longer despise myself as I once did, and that, for me, is a triumph.
That line, it might be the most powerful in the whole piece. It totally recalibrates what victory looks like.
It's not about reaching perfect self-love.
No, it's about stopping the active self-hatred, just ceasing the attack. That cessation is the triumph. It creates the space for everything else to potentially grow later.
And in that space, something starts to return. Desire.
Yes. After years of suppression under guilt and shame, desire starts to surface again. It persists despite the years, despite the weariness, despite all I was led to believe was no longer mine.
It's like a little green shoot coming up through concrete, a sign that the core self wasn't completely crushed.
Exactly. It's the spirit tentatively saying, hey, what about me? What do I want?
And the desires listed are so foundational, not extravagant. Things like time for myself, moments where no explanation is owed.
Freedom without clock, without guilt, without command. Notice the pattern there.
It's all about freedom from external demands and internal judgment.
Yes. Just wanting to be, without having to justify it or perform, to sit still and have that be enough. These aren't luxuries. They're basic human autonomy that got eroded.
The ultimate desire goes beyond just peace. It's about vitality. To feel alive, not functional, not merely useful. Alive.
Moving beyond being a cog in someone else's machine, or even your own efficiency machine.
Right. Functionality is about serving a purpose. Being alive is just being, for its own sake.
It's reclaiming your intrinsic worth, separate from your utility, and realizing that desire itself doesn't need justification. It has no age, no form, no permission. It simply is.
It just exists, like breathing, which connects beautifully to the idea of hope in these sources.
Yeah, the hope described here is very particular. It fits the overall tone. It's not loud or traumatic.
No rescuing blaze of glory. Hope does not shout, nor shake me, nor rescue me in a blaze.
It's quieter, more tenacious, like that tender ache, maybe? Persistent?
It's described as a faint light at the end of the tunnel, a quiet voice that says, one more day.
When just getting through the day is the goal, hope isn't some grand vision. It's just the commitment to keep going. Ordinary, obstinate hope.
And that leads to the most fundamental expression of hope in the text, the recognition that even when you feel hopeless, I breathe, and that itself is a form of hope.
Wow. To frame a basic biological necessity as an act of hope that speaks volumes about the struggle.
It means simply continuing to exist when forces, internal or external, might have preferred you didn't, is a victory, a refusal to be erased.
And the author carries this forward. I keep writing. I keep tending to myself. I keep dreaming of a lighter life. Small, ongoing acts of self-tending.
No guarantees, just the continued effort. And the final request reflects this humility, no miracles needed.
Just connection. I am content with an honest embrace, with a silence shared, with not having to feign strength at all times.
The ability to finally take off the mask, to be accepted in vulnerability.
That feels like the resolution, doesn't it? Hope becomes this ordinary, obstinate resistance. Quiet maybe, but steadfast. It rests in the pocket of my soul. Broken, perhaps, but not surrendered. Hashtag tag outro.
So this deep dive really gives us such a different lens on self-love.
Right.
It's work, it's revolutionary, not because it's easy, but because it's a hard-won choice to keep going.
Exactly. To unlearn, to refuse those inherited burdens. The victory isn't perfection, it's persistence. It's walking lighter because you stopped hating yourself. That's huge.
Tending to yourself, even clumsily, one day at a time.
The honesty is it's profound. And it makes you think, doesn't it? If breathing can be an act of hope in that context, what small, ordinary things in our own lives, things we barely notice, might actually be quiet acts of resistance.
Yeah.
Acts of this revolutionary love.
Choosing to drink water when you're thirsty instead of pushing through. Or actually stopping work on time.
Could be. Maybe logging off, getting enough sleep, not always needing to be the functional machine.
Yeah.
It's worth considering what small acts sustain you, without you even recognizing them as such.
That's a really powerful thought to leave our listeners with. Thank you for exploring this tender ache with us today.
Thank you. It was important.
And now, as requested by the author whose work inspired this discussion, we need to share this final statement exactly as written. I am Vanina Vergara, CV Vergara, to the English-speaking world, born in Asuncion, Paraguay. I have 3 children whom I love deeply, and this is my life. I read letters sent to mailto.vergaravanina@yahoo.com.